Worked double shifts for weeks to afford my wife's birthday gift. Her brother opened it and said, "This cheap thing? You should be ashamed." She threw it in the trash in front of me and said, "Don't embarrass me again." That night, I took the trash out and left something else in its place that made them. I'm Dan, 41 years old, HVAC tech in Evansville, Indiana. I fix air systems in old warehouses and department stores. Not a glamorous job, but it pays okay, and I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it since I was 20. I'm used to long hours, getting dirt under my nails, crawling through crawl spaces in 100 degrees heat. Hard work doesn't scare me. My wife, Jenna, and I have been married for 7 years. Things were good at first. We didn't have a lot, but we had enough. She worked as a part-time librarian when we met, and she was soft-spoken, bookish, kind. She used to get excited about little things like new candles, random drives in the country, thrift store finds. I thought we understood each other, but she started changing about 2 years ago. It started when her older brother Ronnie came back into the picture. He'd been out of state for a while doing real estate flips in Nashville or somewhere and then moved back after his last project fell through. He made a decent amount of money, but he always acted like he was way richer than he actually was. Flashy clothes, expensive cologne, cheap attitude. He started coming over more. At first it was once a month, then once a week. Then it felt like he lived in our damn living room. Jenna changed around him. Her voice got higher, her laugh louder, her standards different. She used to enjoy our simple life. Now she started saying things like, "We should have nicer things." Ronnie says, "Most people our age are already building their dream homes." Ronnie didn't respect me. I knew it. He never said it to my face, but it was all in his tone. "You still doing that HVAC stuff?" He'd asked with that smirk. He made it sound like I was fixing toilets with a plunger. Anyway, Jenna's birthday was coming up. I wanted to do something meaningful. We didn't have a lot of money, but I knew she'd been eyeing this rose gold watch at Macy's. I remembered her pointing it out when we walked through them all once. It wasn't super fancy, but it was still $270, which was more than we usually spent on gifts. I took on every extra shift I could. Work nights, doubles, missed sleep. I even turned down my brother's weekend trip to Kentucky Lake just so I could take one more shift on a Saturday. I didn't say anything to Jenna. I just saved and saved. I thought the surprise would mean more that way. I finally bought the watch a few days before her birthday. Had it engraved with "Time can change everything." Love, Dee thought it sounded meaningful, like something she'd smile about. Her birthday came. I got off work and made it home at 6:15, exactly when I told her I'd be there. Ronnie was already there. So was his girlfriend Mandy, who never made eye contact with me. Music was on, drinks were open, and I felt like I walked into a party I hadn't been invited to. Jenna barely looked at me. "You're late," she said. I wasn't, but I didn't argue. I just pulled the gift from my backpack, wrapped in blue paper, and handed it to her. She looked at it like it was something she didn't want to touch. "This is it." Before she could open it, Ronnie grabbed it out of her hands. "Let's see what HVAC Santa brought," he said, laughing. He tore into the wrapping like it was a joke. He opened the box and saw the watch. "This cheap thing," he said, laughing hard. "You should be ashamed, bro." He tossed the box onto the table like it was a receipt. Jenna didn't even flinch. She walked over, picked up the box, looked at it for maybe 3 seconds, then turned and dropped the whole thing. Watch, box, everything. Straight into the kitchen trash. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Don't embarrass me again." I just stood there. I felt like I got punched in the chest. Nobody said anything. Nobody stood up for me. They just turned the music up and kept drinking. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid on the couch. I kept staring at the trash can. At 2 a.m., I got up and pulled the watch out of the garbage, wiped it clean. It still worked, still ticking. I stared at the engraving for a long time. Then I had a thought. I grabbed my work toolbox and took out the inspection camera I use for tight ducks. It's a little USB thing. Motion triggered records in HD. I placed it behind the fake plant in the corner of the living room. Then I installed another above the kitchen cabinet. One more in the hallway. All motion triggered, all connected to an app on my phone because I didn't trust them anymore. I wanted to believe I was just paranoid, but deep down I knew I wasn't. For weeks, I acted normal. I said nothing. I watched the videos every night. First, it was little stuff. Ronnie letting himself in when I was at work, sitting on the couch for hours. Sometimes alone, sometimes Jenna was there, too. They'd talk, whisper, drink wine together. She started dressing differently around him, tighter stuff. I tried not to assume the worst. Then the hallway cam caught something else. Ronnie came out of our bedroom alone, shirt half tucked, hair messy. That's when I started recording everything. I backed up the files on 2 flash drives. Then one night, I saw Ronnie grab my laptop. He tried guessing my password 5 times. Jenna was standing right next to him, watching, smiling. That's when I knew it wasn't just about sex. They were planning something bigger, something involving my money, maybe even my business. That night, I ordered a phone cloning tool. Took Jenna's phone while she was asleep and cloned it to mine. What I saw made me sick. "Jenna, I'm tired of being married to a broke man with dirty fingernails." "Ronnie, we're almost there. Be patient. Let him hang himself." "Jenna, let's do it after my birthday. He's trying to make it special. Probably another sad card and some gas station flowers." They thought they were playing me. They didn't know I had every move recorded. I didn't say a word. I started moving my things out of the house a little at a time. Tools, documents, clothes, even my dad's old Winchester. I opened a new bank account, transferred money in small pieces, closed the joint credit card. I contacted my cousin Brad, who's a sheriff's deputy up in Jasper. I showed him everything, the videos, the texts, the recordings. He nodded slowly. "We can build a case," he said. Then he helped me hire a lawyer. I filed for divorce, but I didn't serve Jenna yet because I had something else planned. I waited until her next birthday. I handed her the same gift box. She rolled her eyes. "Another watch." She opened it, saw the same watch she threw out. She looked up at me, annoyed. "You brought this back from the trash." I smiled. "Something like that." Then the door opened. Brad walked in with 2 uniformed officers behind him. "That's where I'll pick up next. You're not going to believe how fast everything spiraled." Jenna didn't move at first. She just sat there holding the box, blinking like she didn't understand what was happening. 1 second earlier, she was smirking. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more. Day 2, I worked double shifts for weeks to afford my wife's birthday gift. Her brother opened it and said, "This cheap thing? You should be ashamed." She threw it in the trash in front of me and said, "Don't embarrass me again." That night, I took the trash out and left something else in its place that made them. What was happening? 1 second earlier, she was smirking. Now her face was pale. "Jenna Lynn Becker," Brad said, stepping into the room. "Badge out. You're being served." She stood up fast. "What the hell is this?" "You're being investigated for fraud, attempted identity theft, and conspiracy," he said. "You have the right to remain silent." "What?" She looked at me like I was the traitor. "You're doing this to me, Dan." I didn't answer. Ronnie had just walked in through the back door with a stupid grin on his face, holding a bag of takeout. He stopped cold when he saw the uniforms. "Ronald, Stephen Becker." Brad turned to him, holding a second envelope. "You're being served, too." Ronnie froze. "What the hell is this about?" Brad nodded to one of the officers who stepped forward and started reading his charges. "Same thing. Fraud, conspiracy, tampering with private electronic devices." Ronnie tried to laugh. "Are you serious right now? This guy's setting us up." But Brad just kept reading. Jenna lost it. "Dan, you can't do this. We're married. You can't just ambush me in my own house." I still hadn't said a word because I wanted them to feel it. The silence, the weight of everything I'd seen, everything they tried to do behind my back. Ronnie tossed the takeout onto the floor and stepped toward me. "You think you're smart? What? You think you can ruin me with a couple of videos?" He snapped. Brad stepped between us fast. "Don't move again." Ronnie backed up, hands raised. "This is a joke. He's crazy. Jenna, tell them. Tell them this is bull." But Jenna didn't say anything. She looked like she was going to cry. That's when Brad handed her the printouts, messages, screenshots, password attempts, timestamps. He handed Ronnie the same. Every text, every recording, every time you tried to access his laptop, all logged, all backed up. Ronnie tried to snatch the papers and crumple them. Jenna sat down hard on the edge of the couch, shaking her head. "I didn't mean to go that far," she said quietly. "I just wanted better. You don't understand what it's like living with someone who's always tired, always covered in dust." I finally spoke. "I was tired because I was working double shifts. For this," I said, pointing at the watch still in her lap. "You spit on that like it meant nothing." She looked down, ashamed for the first time in months. But I wasn't done. "Brad," I said, "show them the video from July 14th. Brad pulled out his phone and tapped. He turned the screen to Jenna. There she was on my couch, half dressed, wrapped in a blanket. Ronnie came out of the hallway, also barely dressed. He sat beside her, kissed her shoulder. She laughed. Jenna looked away. Ronnie clenched his jaw. "You filmed us without consent. That's illegal." Brad raised an eyebrow. "Not in your own home, Ronnie. Dan lives here. And these were installed in shared rooms. Motion triggered. Legal." Ronnie's face went red. "This is insane. You're destroying your whole life over this." "No," I said, "you two already destroyed it. I'm just finally sweeping up the pieces." That's when Jenna snapped. "I was miserable. You never took me anywhere. You wore the same work boots to every dinner." I felt stuck. Ronnie understood me. Ronnie looked surprised. She said that part out loud. Loud enough for everyone to hear. "I gave you everything I had," I said. "And you both laughed at me for it." The officers cuffed Ronnie first. He didn't resist, but he spit on the floor near my feet. "You'll regret this, HVAC boy." Jenna wasn't cuffed yet. She was crying now. Not loud, just that pitiful shaking kind of cry where someone realizes they burned the wrong bridge. "I didn't want it to go like this," she whispered. "We were just going to take some money and go. Not all of it. Just enough to start over." "You almost got there," I said. "But I was watching the whole time." They walked Ronnie out. Then Brad stood next to Jenna. She didn't fight. She just stared at the floor. Didn't say another word as they let her out. The door closed. And for the first time in over a year, the house was quiet. But it wasn't over. 2 days later, I got a call from Brad. "Dan, you might want to come down here." He didn't explain why, just said it was urgent. I drove to the station. Brad met me in the hallway with a file in his hand. His face was serious. "I know you thought this was just about your marriage," he said, handing me the file. "But we found something else." I opened the folder. Bank accounts, 3 of them, not in Jenna's name, not in Ronnie's, not even in Evansville. Fake IDs opened under alias names. Same handwriting on the forms. Same P.O. box in a nearby town. Brad said, "We think they were planning to drain your savings and vanish." How long? Over a year, Dan. I felt my knees go weak. They hadn't just been cheating. They were building an escape plan with my name, my work, my money. I said nothing. Just close the file. Do you want to press full charges? Brad asked. I didn't answer yet because I needed time to think. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about burning everything they built on top of me and making sure they never had a chance to rebuild it again. And I wasn't finished. I didn't sleep that night after Brad gave me that file. The thought that they'd been planning this for over a year made my skin crawl. I started replaying every little moment, every weird mood, every girl's night out, every time Ronnie just happened to be in the neighborhood. All of it felt like one long con. But it got worse. The next morning, I was drinking coffee, trying to calm my head when my phone buzzed. A known number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Dan Becker, the voice said. Mailcom, but serious. Who's this? My name's Miles Edwards. I'm an investigator with First State Credit Union Fraud Division. All right. I'm calling regarding a flagged withdrawal request made under your social security number. My stomach dropped. He went on. Someone tried to initiate a full transfer of a retirement account into an offshore wire. The paperwork was flagged because of a signature mismatch and a suspicious destination. I don't have a retirement account with your bank, I said slowly. Exactly. That's why we called. He told me someone using my full name, SSN, and old address tried to set up an account transfer from a 401k plan I didn't even know existed. Someone had created it using an old job I had back in 2009. Attached it to my name and had been growing it slowly. Not for me, for them. They were using me like a ghost identity, creating accounts in my name so they could walk away clean with the money later. That P.O. box Brad found, it was linked to all of it. Jenna and Ronnie hadn't just been cheating and stealing. They were creating a whole second version of my life on paper and then planning to steal it. That's when something else hit me. I remembered a dinner 2 years ago. Jenna had made lasagna and Ronnie came over drunk. He kept joking about how Dan's such a simple guy. You could put a leash on him and he'd walk in circles. They laughed. I laughed, too. Thinking it was just a joke. But I remember Jenna asking a weird question that night. If someone stole your identity, how long would it take you to notice? I thought she was just making conversation, but now it was part of the blueprint. I hung up with the investigator and immediately called Brad. He said, we'll pull the financial forensics guys in, but Dan, this is bigger than we thought. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more. 8-3, I worked double shifts for weeks to afford my wife's birthday gift. Her brother opened it and said, this cheap thing? You should be ashamed. She threw it in the trash in front of me and said, don't embarrass me again. That night, I took the trash out and left something else in its place that made them. This is bigger than we thought. They've got more tentacles out than just your house. I asked him, is this going to hurt my credit? He paused. They tried, but we're going to fix it. Just brace yourself. The next few weeks were a blur. I spent hours with my lawyer. I had to freeze my credit, lock down my accounts, prove I didn't open half the things in my name. It was hell. But while I was dealing with all that, something else came up. Jenna got released on bail. So did Ronnie. That's when the phone calls started. Blocked numbers, random voicemails. Jenna crying into the phone. Dan, please. I didn't know Ronnie was doing all of that. He pressured me. I didn't mean to hurt you. And Ronnie, he had the nerve to send a letter. A handwritten one. You think you've won? You haven't. I've been doing this longer than you've been fixing pipes, little man. You got one trick. I've got 100. Enjoy your empty house. I sent the letter straight to Brad. He said, this counts as a threat. We'll use it in court. But I was already thinking beyond that. See, I've been quiet for long enough. Too quiet. While Jenna and Ronnie thought I was licking my wounds, I was getting ready for the next move. And that's when something unexpected happened. A woman named Tammy Pearson reached out to me on Facebook. Never heard of her, but she sent a message that stopped me cold. Hi, Dan. I think we need to talk. I used to be with Ronnie and I think he did the same thing to me that he did to you. I met her at a diner just outside of Henderson. She brought a folder. It had copies of bank accounts, messages, even fake business licenses. Ronnie had set up a fake landscaping business under her name, borrowed money against her credit, then ghosted her. When she tried to press charges, nothing stuck. She didn't have the recordings like I did. But with what I had, we now had a pattern. Tammy and I went straight to my lawyer, who started putting together something big. A RICO case, racketeering, multiple frauds across state lines, same mo, same names. Brad was stunned. If we can connect one more case, this won't just be a personal thing, Dan. This becomes federal. I started tracking down old girlfriends Ronnie had. A few of them blocked me. But one replied, she said, I've been waiting for someone else to come forward. I just didn't want to be the first. Her name was Alyssa, and her story almost identical, except in her case, Ronnie used her name to rent out 2 condos in St. Louis, flipped one for cash, left her holding the bag on the other. She never fully recovered. Now with 3 people, all with paper trails, we had a case. The revenge part wasn't done yet. Not even close. Because it wasn't just about proving they betrayed me. It was about making sure they never did it to anyone else again. And the next move I made, it was the one that would make the walls start closing in for real. After agreed to give a sworn statement, my lawyer submitted everything to the state prosecutor's office. 3 victims, 3 trails of fraud. Same guy, same tricks. Brad called me a week later. They're opening a formal investigation into Ronnie as a serial financial predator. It's going up to the state attorney general's office. And Dan, if they push this forward with federal backing, he's looking at 20 years minimum. I sat there in my truck after the call, staring at the steering wheel. For the first time since this started, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. But I wasn't done. I wanted Jenna to understand exactly what she threw away. Not just the money, not the house, but me. What I would have done for her, what I did do. So I sent her one last thing before the trial began. A box. Inside was the same rose gold watch, still ticking, still engraved. Beneath it, I put a photo of the three of us at a diner years ago. Me, Jenna, and Ronnie, back when I still thought I had a family. And on the back of that photo, I wrote, "You had time. You wasted it." She didn't respond. But she didn't need to. The look on her face when she walked into that courtroom weeks later said it all. She looked tired, hollow, like someone finally saw the inside of her own mess. Ronnie swaggered in like he still had a shot. He wore some cheap sport coat like it made him a lawyer. But as soon as he saw Tammy and Alyssa sitting beside me, his face dropped. Our statements were read into evidence. Video clips were played, bank records displayed. It turned out Jenna had forged my signature 3 different times. On small things, just enough to help Ronnie, but not enough to get caught right away. But with the identity theft, the account creation, and the attempt to empty my 401k stacked up, Ronnie was hit with 11 charges, 3 felonies, 2 counts of federal wire fraud, and because there was proof he'd used someone else's identity to open out-of-state financial accounts. The FBI got involved. He was sentenced to 27 years, no parole for at least 20. When the judge read it out, Ronnie started yelling. "You don't know who I am. I made real money. They're all lying. This is rigged." The baifs dragged him out. Jenna got 5 years probation, 2 years house arrest, a felony record for financial fraud, no passport, no credit, no job. Why the lighter sentence? Because she turned on Ronnie in the end. Gave the feds info about a separate fraud scheme he was involved in with 2 other guys from Tennessee. But it didn't save her dignity. Her name was ruined. She lost every job she applied for. Last I heard, she was living with her mother in a trailer outside Tell City. She tried contacting me once more, sent a letter saying she was lost and that she missed the life we used to have. She asked if I'd ever consider forgiving her. I didn't reply. She didn't get forgiveness. But she got time. Every hour alone, every job turned down, every awkward look at the grocery store. Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life. Slowly, I took a couple months off work. Got a cheap place out in Boonville. Quiet, peaceful, took up woodworking, something I'd always wanted to try. I even started dating again. Not serious, not yet. Just coffee and conversation, but it felt good to be seen again. The real closure came a few months after the trial. Alyssa called me, said she'd found a bank account Ronnie had set up using a shell company in her name. It had $18,000 in it. She didn't want it. "I don't want his dirty money," she said. "If there's any legal way, maybe we can split it between the 3 of us, the ones he used." We met with a lawyer. Turned out we could file a joint civil suit and claim the funds as compensation. We won. I used my share to buy a second-hand F-150. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Paid in full. I still wear the same boots Ronnie made fun of. Still fix heating systems in crawl spaces and wipe my face with a greasy rag. But I walk lighter now because I know who I am. And more importantly, they do too. They thought I was the quiet one, the doormat, the fool in work boots. Turns out I was the one holding the receipts. And when the time came, I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just let the truth do its job. And I buried them both. This is where our story comes to end. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and follow. Thanks to all for your support.